ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम्। Now we go to the next sutra. On the page 407. Says Ratnaprabha, or says Nyaya Pura Sutre Mayamaya Leelaya Brahmana Sastutvam Adishtam. Sutra that we just completed, Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam there. Mayamaya Leelaya, by Leela of the sports, which is the nature of Maya. Brahmana Sastutvam Adishtam, that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, the material cause as well as the efficient cause, with the support of Maya. In that there is no prayojanam, no purpose to be sought in this creation. Just as a king or his ministers and his people, all whose desires are fulfilled, for whom nothing remains to be achieved or nothing to be obtained. So they are also seen to engage in activities such as sport, as a pastime, as a, so this is what we find, with no prayojanam, no purpose. Meaning that there can be also an activity which need not have a purpose, and that is the pastime or the sport. And somebody may feel that even that also may have some purpose of entertainment, etc. So Bhashyakara gave other example of swasa praswasa, of breathing in and out, which just takes place spontaneously, naturally, without any particular purpose on the part of the human being. So an exception is shown. Whether can any activity ever take place without a purpose? So general rule is no activity is seen to be carried out without a purpose, and creation is a stupendous task, and therefore that activity must have a purpose. If Brahman also has a purpose, then its Purnatvam, Aptakamatvam, that Brahma is fulfilled with all desires, that will be contradicted. If you say that a madman is seen to do things without any purpose, even though he is a conscious person, he is seen to do well, but Brahman is Sarvajnam, therefore cannot be intoxicated, cannot be mad. So saying that you need not search for a purpose in every activity. So one activity is pointed out, Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam. Just as in our day-to-day life, we find people engaging in pastime, in the sports activities, without any particular purpose. And finally it was said that ultimately the Srishti is not real. It is a projection by ignorance, and therefore also you do not have to seek any purpose. How come that the rope appears as a snake? There is no purpose. It's just the nature of the snake rope to appear that way. The Atmakamastu ka spruha. Devasya svabhavayam Atmakamasya ka spruha. This is svabhava, this is nature of the Deva, nature of Ishvara or Brahman, just to manifest as the universe. Why? No purpose on the part of Brahman. The question was asked, how come Brahman does not keep quiet? Ishvara tushrim kividina tishtati. Kividi swasya phalam paresham dukkhavaham srishtim karoti. If there is no purpose to be sought in creation, then there need not be, why should there be creation also? And particularly creation which serves no purpose for Brahman. Meaning, when the universe is created, Brahman does not grow or increase more than what it is. In pralaya or dissolution, when there is no universe, Brahman doesn't get reduced in any way. So having the universe does not serve any purpose for Brahman. But paresham dukkhavaham, we find in the universe so many unhappy, miserable people. So nacha svabhava pariyanuyoktum shakyate devasyaisha svabhavayam. So why is this so? You cannot question, because that is the nature. Fire is hot by nature. Why? It is its nature. Poison is just kills by nature. Why? That is its nature. And the samagri is there for the srishti to take place. The right time is there, dharma, dharma, karma is there, and so srishti will take place when the samagri is there. So that way, Purva Sutre, Maya Maya Leelaya Brahmana Srashtutvam Adishtam, that Brahma is the creator with the help of Maya, where the activity is like sport, like pastime. Samprati saeva sapekshasya na sambhavati anishvaratva prasangad. Now whether Ishvara is obliged, Ishvara is does it independently? Is Ishvara totally independent in this creation? Does he create this by his own fancy? Or does Ishvara take any other factor into consideration while creating the universe? Ishvara has no purpose to serve, that we understand. But still, when Ishvara creates, does he take anything into account? Or he creates as he likes? Sapekshasya. If Ishvara also has to create in accordance with some factor other than himself, then is dependent on that factor, then he can't be called Ishvara. Nirapekshatve. And Ishvara created everything simply out of his fancy, for no rhyme and reason. Then some people are made happy, some others are miserable. So he made them happy, he made them miserable. That means he is partial to those who are happy, he is cruel to those who are miserable. Then also he cannot be Ishvara. So akshipya samadhatte. So this is akshepa. Whether Ishvara has to take any factors into account or not. So the next sutra says, Vaishamya nirghunyena sapekshatvat तथा ही दर्शयते ब्रह्मणः वैषम्य निर्गुण्य न स्याताम्. Brahman cannot have vishamata or cannot have partiality or nirgunyam, cruelty. This is quite oft quoted sutra. Kutaha, on what ground do you say that? Sapekshatvat. Because Brahman does take into consideration of prani karma sapekshatvat. Even though Brahman has no purpose to accomplish, still the pranis or the jivas who are created want their purpose to be accomplished. Brahman being whole and complete has no purpose of its own, but all the jivas who are created, all of them are incomplete, therefore they have an agenda, they have a purpose, they have desires, and they have their own karma which they have performed in the past. Therefore, prani karma sapekshatvat, the universe is created taking into consideration the karma or the actions of all the jivas. Nanu kasmat brahmana karma sapekshatvam. On what ground do you say that Brahman actually takes into account the karmas while creating? Tathahi darshayati, sutra says. Eshahyeva sadhu karma karayati, etc. The quotation we given that God makes a person whom he wants to lift to heaven, makes him perform good actions. One he wants him to go to hell, makes him perform evil actions, etc. So Shruti talks about the good actions and evil actions. Going to Ratnaprabha, Nirdoshat Brahmanah Jagat Sargam Bruvan Samanvayo Vishayah. Nirdoshat Brahmana Jagat Sargam. Siddhanta says that the universe is created from Brahman, that is nirdosham, that is innocent, meaning devoid of any dosha or guna, devoid of ragadvesha. That is his Vishaya. That is Samanvaya. This is what the Siddhanta says, and that becomes the matter of discussion here. स किं यो विषमकारी स दोषवान न्यायेन विरुध्यते न वा. So there is this rule that the Purva Pakshi, that Sandeha creates the Sandeha. Yo Vishamakari Sa Doshavan. In our day-to-day life, we find that whoever creates an unequal thing, he is not fair. He is possessed of the partiality and cruelty. Whoever creates something which is unequal. Vishamakari Sah Doshavan. Because we find that he is partial to somebody and cruel to somebody else. Iti Nyayena. So this rule is there. So whether creation on the part of Brahman contradicts this rule or not, that's the question. Viruddhyate navayati sandehe purvatra lilaya yat srashtutvam uktam. In the previous sutra, this srashtutvam, the creatorship of Brahman, was as lila, as sport, as pastime. Tadeva karmadi sapekshasya na yuktam. That creatorship of Brahman is not proper if Brahman is dependent upon karma. Brahman doesn't have freedom to create what Brahman wants. It has to create only according to the karma of the people. Like an architect does not have the freedom to build a house as he wants. His client decides what exactly is wanted. An architect builds a house according to the desires and requirements of the client. So Ishvara is like an architect, creates this universe in keeping with the desires of the jivas. Then he is not Ishvara. Ishvara means ruler, who must be always sarvatantra swatantra. He must be independent in every aspect. So anishvaratva apatte, then he will not be Ishvara. Nirapekshatve ragadi dosha apatte, we saw this. And if Ishvara creates without taking anything into consideration, then it is evident that some people are favored and some people are opposite, in the sense that some people suffer. Iti akshepa sangatya purva pakshayati. So what was stated in the previous sutra becomes the basis of questioning in this sutra is called akshepa sangati. Punascha Subhashyakara says, Punascha Jagat Janmadi Hetutvam Ishvarasya Akshepyade Sthuna Nikhanananyayena Pratignatasya Arthasya Drudhikaranaya. Punascha, once again, Jagat Janmadi Hetutvam Ishvarasya Jagat Janmadi Hetutvam Akshipyate. Once again is challenged or questioned the Jagat Janmadi Hetutvam, that Ishvara or Brahman is the cause of the Jagat Janma, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. The creation, sustenance, dissolution, that Brahman is the agent of this. Akshipyate is questioned or challenged. Why? Puna akshepasya phalam. What's the reason? Sthuna nikhanana nyayena. For planting a pole firmly in the ground. You drive the pole in a soft ground, then shake it and take it out. Again drive, shake it and take it out. Again drive, shake it and take it out until the pole goes to firm ground that it stands on its own. So, in order that the pole remains firm on its own requires several efforts of driving the pole further and further and further. Similarly, in order that this Siddhanta, that Brahman is Jagat Karanam, stands on its own, requires it to be driven again and again and again to make it very firm, unshakable. Pratignatasya arthasya drudhikaranaaya. For the artha, for the Siddhanta which has been proposed here, that Brahma is Jagat Karanam, drudhikaranaaya. Say Ratnaprabha, ब्रह्मैव जगत् कारणमिति जन्मादि सूत्रे प्रतिज्ञात अर्थः. All the way in the second sutra, right in the beginning, janmadyasya yatah, that is a pratigna, that Brahman is the cause of jagat janmadi. So that alone is being made more and more firm. Says Nyaya Nirnaya, आक्षेपं विवृण्वन् वैषम्य निर्घृण्येन इति सूत्र अवयवं पूर्वपक्ष योजयन् न अर्थमाह न इति. Akshepan, this akshepam vivrunan, this akshepa, this questioning or challenge is further explained by Bhashyakara. In that process also Vaishamya Nirgrunye, that aspect is being explained by Bhashyakara. So Bhashyakara says, Na Ishvaro Jagatah Karanam Upapadyate. It is not tenable, not logical that Ishvara is Jagat Karanam or the cause of creation. प्रश्नपूर्वकं हेतुं गृहीत्वा प्रथमं वैषम्य प्रसंगं प्रकटयति. So with a question, what's the reason that the Purva Paksha is making this statement? First of all, Bhashyakara explains the Vaishamya. Vaishamya and Nirghunya, two prasangas are there. The partiality and cruelty. So first of all, Purva Pakshi explains the Vaishamya, the partiality. Kutaha. Bhashyakara says, Kutaha. On what basis do you say that Brahman cannot be Jagat Karanam? Bhashya says further, Vaishamya Nirghunya Prasangat. That's from the sutra. Because there will be occasion of Vaishamya partiality, Nirghunya cruelty. Now first of all the Vaishamyam, the partiality, is explained by the Purva Pakshi. Kamsita atyanta sukhavajah karoti devadin. Kamsita अत्यंत दुखभाजः पश्वादीन. कांसित मध्यम भोग भाजो मनुष्यादीन. इत्येवं विश्वां सृष्टिं निर्मिमाणस्य ईश्वरस्य पृथग्जनस्य इव रागद्वेषोपपत्तेः. विषमां सृष्टिं निर्मिमाणस्य ईश्वरस्य. Ishvara, who has created the Vishama Srishti, an unequal universe he has created. You can call it unjust or unequal. Kamsid devadin atyant sukhabhajah karoti. There are some, namely devatas and others, who are extremely happy in heaven. Even in the human world also, there are some people who are very happy, very accomplished, very lucky. Kamsit atyant dukkha bhajah pashwadin. So Pashu animals and all these inferior yonis are considered to be papa yonaya. They are the result of papa, and therefore predominance of dukkha is there. That's what he assumed. Then devatas, predominance of pleasure. In the animals and lower birds, predominance of pain. Kamsit madhyam bhoga bhajah manusyadin. Whereas human beings are of the middling pleasure and pain, or a mixture of pleasure and pain. Devam vishamam srishtim nirmimanasya. Ishvara has created this unequal universe. Pruthak janasyaiva pruthak janah pamaraha. Like an ordinary person, like an ignorant person who doesn't know any better. An ignorant person, an aviveki person, a non-discriminating person simply follows whatever impulses that arise in the mind. Similarly, Ishvara also looks like that ignorant person who follows whatever impulses arise in the mind and creates. Ragadvesha upapattehe, this is Vaishamya. So just as an ignorant person is ragadvesha, attachments and aversions, therefore is partial to those to whom he is attached and cruel to those for whom he is dvesha or aversion. It's what we find. Then Ishvara also has done similar things. Some people are favored and some people are cursed. And therefore Ishvara also seems to have ragadvesha. Vaishamyepi kim syat. Suppose, alright, Ishvara is ragadvesha, so what? Let it be. Says, no, it can't be. So Bhashyakara says, Shruti smrityavadharita swachhatvadi Ishvara svabhavilopah prasajjeta. They will contradict what the Shruti says. Shruti smriti avadharita. What is ascertained in both Shruti as well as Smriti? What? Swachhatvadi. Ishvara is pure. So says Ratnava, Niravadyam Niranjanam iti Shruti. Niranjanam, Niravadyam, Brahman is what? Niranjanam, untainted. Niravadyam, uncensurable. Means again nirdosham, without any defect, without any fault. Brahman is faultless, Brahman is pure. And Smriti, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that I am equal to all the beings and therefore name dveshya. I don't have aversion for anybody, nor do I have partiality for anybody. Meaning the Shastra very clearly says that Ishvara is devoid of attachment and aversion or partiality and cruelty. Partiality here. Swachhatvaditi adipadena kutasthatva graha. Or Nyayana says Nishkriyatva Nishkalatvadi Grihyade. So Kutastha, Brahman is changeless. Brahman is also Nishkriyam, is actionless, Nishkalam, partless. All of this is what is said. Brahman, all of this will be contradicted. Is Brahman is Sadosham. Ragadveshas are there where there are gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. So Brahman also will be then possessed of the nature of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, gunas. What is Swachhatvadi Ishvara Svabhava? Karmadhara Samas Swachhatvadischa Sau Ishvara Svabhavascha iti Vigraha. Where Swachhatvadi, Swachhata, etc. is the Swabhava, the very nature of Ishvara. So says Nyaya Nirnaya, Vaishamya prasangam pradarshya Nirgrunya prasangam darshayati. First, the Purva Paksha showed how there is Vaishamyam, inequality or partiality, and Nirgrunyam, cruelty. Tatha iti. Next sentence is Tatha khalajanaihi api jugupsitam nirgrunatvam atikruratvam dukkhayoga vidhanat sarva prajopasamharacha prasajjeta. Tatha khalajanaihi api jugupsitam. When people who are very perverted, people who are very cruel by nature, even they also get aversion for what Ishvara does. Jugupsitam, khala janahi api jugupsitam. So people who are known to be bad, evil-minded people, even evil-minded people also turn away from the cruelty that Ishvara shows. Ati kruratvam dukkha yoga vidhanat. Such cruelty is there that people are subject to such amount of misery. A series of misery keeps on coming one after the other, and there seems to be no compunction, no compassion at all. Even an evil-minded person will turn away from doing something like that. And sarva prajopasamharacha. And further, when the pralaya comes, dissolution comes, kills all the beings, all of them are killed. When the whole earth is flooded with water, what happens to people? They all die, they are all killed. Mass killing, wholesale killing, that's what Ishvara does. What cruelty? So without cruelty, how can you kill? So says Nyaya Nirnaya, Brahma paresham anartha hedu karyasya na karanam chetanetve sati anavadyatvad. Brahma paresham anartha hedu karyasya na karanam. The Purva Paksha says Brahman could not have done this. That's the whole idea. Paresham anartha hedu karyasya. Has caused so much anarth, so much calamity and suffering from others, Brahman cannot do that. That's the idea. They are not saying Brahman is like that. They are saying that this shows that Brahman cannot be the cause of creation because of anartha hetutvat. Chetanatve sati anavadyatvat. Brahman is chetanam, conscious, all-knowing, anavadyam, blameless. Blameless. Vishishta purushavat iti. Here also, we know that people are noble-minded. We don't see them engaging any kind of, causing pain to others. We don't. Devipretya upasamar. Therefore, he says Brahman could not have been the cause of creation. So Purva Paksha is concluded. Tasmaditi. Vashyakara says, Tasmad Vaishamya Nirgunya Prasangat Na Ishvara Karanam Ityevam Prapte Brumaha. Tasmad, therefore, Vaishamya Nirgunya Prasangat. If you claim that Brahman is the creator of this universe, then he will be charged with cruel partiality and cruelty, and Brahman cannot be partial or cruel because Brahman is blameless, ever pure and blameless. Therefore, Brahman could not have been the cause of the creation. See, all other major religions like Christianity, Islam, they do not accept law of karma. They do not accept a past birth. They don't accept the future birth. So the only explanation is why is the universe like this? Ishvara has so created. There were questions arise, how come Ishvara has done this? Questions arise in our mind also, why am I suffering like this? What have I done? Because we do not know anything in this birth that I have done to deserve this. So the answer is maybe something is done in the past birth. Because that kind of answer also is not there. As far as Christians are concerned, Ishvara has done this, he created out of his fancy. So people turn away from that religion because there are no answers. You cannot answer these questions. Purva Paksham Anudya, so Nanandagiri Ratnaprabha said, Nimittam Anapeksha Vishamakaritve Vaishamyadi Doshasyad. Well, Ishvara would not have been the creator if Ishvara did not take anything into account. Nimittam anapeksha. So without any reason, if there is inequality, then of course the person or whoever is created would be charged with the defect of partiality and cruelty. Natu anapekshatvam Ishvarasya asti. But Ishvara is not like that. Ishvara takes into consideration the karma of the pranis. It is Siddhanta iti evam prapte ityadina. So Siddhanta is being said. Bhashyakara continues. Vaishamya nirghrunye na Ishvarasya prasajyete. So this is the proposition. Vaishamya nirghrunye na Ishvarasya prasajyete. There is no prasanga, no occasion for Vaishamya, the partiality, nirghunya, cruelty for Ishvara. Prashna Purvakam Hetum Adatte. Preceded by question, Bhashyakara says the reason why do we say that. Kasmat Sapekshatvat. That comes from the sutra. Kasmat. For what reason do you say that Brahman doesn't have partiality or cruelty? Sapekshatvat. Because he does take into account other factors. Vyatireka dvara vibhajate. The Vyatireka is said here, Yadihi. Yadihi Nirapekshaha Kevalaha Ishvaraha Vishamam Srishtim Nirmimite Syatam Eto Dosho Vaishamyam Nirgrunyam Cha. Unlike Vyatireka, unlike यदि निरपेक्ष केवल ईश्वर विश्वाम सृष्टिम निर्मिमीते, if ईश्वर केवल निरपेक्ष में व्याचस्ते निरपेक्ष केवल ईश्वर without taking anything to account at all, ईश्वर विश्वाम सृष्टिम निर्मिमीते, if ईश्वर creates this unequal universe, Syatam eto dosho, then these two defects would be there. What are the Vaishamyam, Nirgunya cha, partiality and cruelty? These two defects would be there in Ishvara. Natu nirapekshasya निर्मातृत्वमस्ति. But nirapekshasya nirmatrutvam asti. No nirmata, no creator is ever nirapeksha. No creator ever creates out of for no reason at all. There is a reason. There is a purpose behind creation. There is no purpose as far as Brahman is concerned, but there is purpose as far as jivas are concerned. Understand? So that also has to be clarified here. Natu nirapekshasya nirmatrutvam asti. We do not find in the world that anybody who is totally who takes nothing into account, nirapeksha. No creator is found to create something without taking anything into consideration. You create a house with a consideration, create a road with consideration, create a vehicle with consideration, create any small thing also, make cup of tea with consideration. Unless you are out of your mind, that is possible. But then, as far as any intelligent, conscious person is concerned, you don't do anything without any purpose. So there is that way some consideration on the part of every creator. Uktamevartham anvaya anvachaste. First Vyatirika is stated, now the Anvaya is stated. Sapeksho hi Ishvaraha Vishwam Srishtim Nirmimite. So Ishvara creates unequal world with taking into account some factor. सापेक्षत्वे सति अनिश्वरत्वापत्ति इति विवक्षन्. But if Ishvara also has to depend upon some factor for creating, then how can you call him Ishvara? So Ishvaratvam also must be there, consideration also must be there, there is no purpose also, everything should be there. This is a very beautiful unfoldment of the nature of Ishvara. Iti vivakshan. So with that intention, the Purvapakshi questions here, Kim apekshate iti chet. What does Ishvara has to take into account? Please tell us. Dharma dharmu apekshate iti vadamaha. We say that Ishvara takes into account dharma and adharma, the merit and demerit of these jivas, takes them into account. Says Ratnaprabha, Nacha sapekshatve anishwaratvam sevam apeksha phaladatari ragni Ishvaratva anapayad. So phaladatari ragni, when a king, for example, gives something to the servants, when the king makes payment to the servants, for example, or rewards the servant, rewards the person, then sevam apeksha phaladatari. So king also rewards, taking into account the seva, the service that the other person has rendered, taking that into account, even someone like king also gives award. So just because king gives award with consideration of the service of the person doesn't make him non-un-king, he still remains king. Ishvaratva anapayat, his rulership is not in any way affected because it takes into account, takes into consideration what the people have done, and accordingly he rewards them. Similarly, Ishvara also takes into account the karma performed by the jivas and accordingly rewards them, or not punishes them but gives them happiness, pleasure or pain. sapekshत्वे phalam vadan uktameva vyanakti. What is the outcome of sapekshत्व, of dependence or consideration? And what is said itself is further explained here. अतः सृज्यमान प्राणी धर्मापेक्षा विषमा सृष्टि इति नायम् ईश्वरस्य अपराधः. अतः सृज्यमान प्राणी धर्म अधर्म अपेक्षा विषमा सृष्टि. सृष्टि is taking into consideration the prani dharma adharma, the merit and demerit of the jivas, taking that into consideration is this creation. Iti nayam Ishwarasya aparadha. This is not no fault of Ishvara. The Srishti is like that because the Srishti is in accordance with the merit and demerit of the jivas. Therefore it is not Ishvara's that this fellow has performed merit, so he deserves this. He has violated the rule, therefore he deserves that. That is the rule. There is a law. And that law, according to that law, which is law of karma, you can say, law of dharma. People appear to get rewarded, appear to get punished. There is no intention of rewarding somebody, punishing somebody. It is simply giving the result of the karma. Naam Ishwarasya aparadha. Then an interesting question is asked. Says Ratnaprabha, Nanu tarhi dharma dharmabhyam eva vichitra srishti astu kim Ishwaraneti. If Ishvara has to take into account the dharma and adharma, then why not say that dharma? That is Mimamsakas say. Karmeti Mimamsakaha. Mimamsakas claim that it is karma that creates the universe. They don't accept, they don't take into account any Ishvara. So they don't see the need of an Ishvara. So are you following now or are you conforming with the Mimamsakas? Nanutai dharma dharmabhya vichitra srishti astu. Let dharma and dharma be the cause of this universe. Asatyam apratishtamte jagadahu anishwaram. So pratishtha is dharma. So either satya is a cause, or dharma is a cause, or Ishvara is a cause. They don't accept anything. But then here, so why not we say that dharma and adharma are the cause of the creation? Why do you bring in Ishvara in between? What does Ishvara have to do? Ataha, therefore the answer is given. Ishvarastu parjanyavata drashtavyah. Ishvara is to be looked upon as the rain, similar to rain. Dushtantam vivranoti. Dushtanta is explained here. यथा हि पर्जन्यः व्रीह्यवादि सृष्टौ साधारणं कारणं भवति व्रीह्यवादि वैषम्येतु तत्तद्बीजगत no तत्तद्बीजगतानि एव असाधारणानि सामर्थ्यानि कारणानि भवन्ति एवं ईश्वरः देवमनुष्यादि सृष्टौ साधारणं कारणं भवति. So rain is the yatha hi parjanyah vrihyavadi sustau. In the field somewhere the paddy is created, somewhere the barley is created. Vishamata is there. So even when the rain is there, it is not that the same crop is, same grain grows in all the fields. In different fields, different crops are there. Somewhere the paddy is there, somewhere the barley is there. What is the role of rain? Sadharanam karanam bhavati. The rain is the common cause for the growing of whatever grain is there. Rain is the common cause. Then what's the reason for the Vaishamya? So Vrihevadi Vaishamyetu. If rain is the common cause, then how come in one field there is paddy, another field there is barley? What's the reason? Tattat bijagatani eva asadharanani samarthyani karanani bhavanti. Those respective seeds, barley has a seed, paddy has a seed, every seed has a samarthya, or every seed has a capability. And different capabilities are there, different kinds of capabilities are there, and that is what creates a difference. So rain is not responsible for the difference. It is the inherent capacity within the seed that is what is the cause of difference. Evam Ishvara Deva Manusyadi Sushtau Sadharanam Karanam Bhavati. Similarly also, Ishvara is the common universal cause for creating devatas, manusyas, etc. Further, Deva Manusyadi Vaishamyetu Tattajjivagatani Eva Asadharanani Karmani Karanani Bhavanti. So what is it that makes devatas different from the human beings? Deva Manusyadi Vaishamye. As far as the inequality of the devatas, manusyas and others is concerned, tattajjivagatani eva asadharani karmani. So karma becomes the nimitta karanam for the diversity. Ishvara is nimitta karanam for creation and karma is the nimitta karanam for the diversity. The diversity is somebody is devata, somebody is manusya, somebody is an animal. Tatta jivagatani eva asadharanani karmani. The unequal karmas or the seeds of the karma that are there in the different beings, they become the cause for the diversity. So diversity in their karma is the cause of the diversity in the creation. So Vashyakara says, Evam Ishvaraha Sapekshvatvat Na Vaishamya Nirghrunyabhyam Dushyate. Evam Ishvara Sapekshvatvat. Therefore, Ishvara also takes into account the diversity of the potential. Diversity in the potential of the seeds. In this case, the seed is karma, and taking that into account, Ishvara, like the rain, cannot be blamed being partial to somebody or cruel to somebody. There may be a field in which it rains and there is no crop if no seeds are there. You can't say rain has been very cruel to this field and partial to that field. So that is determined by the seed presence and absence of seed, and further potential in the seed. Therefore, Ishvara being Sapeksha, Ishvara, since he takes into consideration the karma, therefore Navaishamya Nirgunyabhyam Dushyade. He is not blamed by, or he is not tainted by Vaishamya or Nirgunya, partiality and cruelty. Says Ratnaprabha, Sadharana hetu sahitascheva asadharana hetu karyakaritvat. Therefore, for every creation there are two hetus, sadharana hetu and asadharana hetu. When you make tea, sadharana hetu that you make tea. Asadharana hetu, making tea for your father, he likes tea of a certain kind. Your mother likes tea of a different kind. Sometimes in the same house, 4 or 5 kinds of teas are made, everybody makes the tea of their own type. Someone wants spices, somebody doesn't want spice, somebody wants milk, somebody wants more, somebody wants to boil more, somebody wants light and stuff like that. So tea is sadharanam, but the kind of tea is asadharanam, depending upon the fancies of the people who are drinking that tea. Na Ishvara Vayarthyam. So merely a sadharana karanam is not enough. Merely seeds are not enough for generating the crop, you require rain also. Similarly, merely your desires, variety of desires is not enough for the tea also has to be made. And therefore, these two causes are involved in every creation, sadharana and asadharana. The common and uncommon causes, and therefore Ishvara is cause, all right, but it's a common cause, and karma is a uncommon cause. Therefore, na Ishvara Vayarthyam, merely karma cannot create without the creator. Therefore, na Ishvara Vayarthyam, Ishvara is not redundant, he is very much required. Anyatha Parjanya Vayartha Prasangat, otherwise the crops will grow without the rain. If you did not require sadharana karanam, then the crops will grow without rain. That does not happen. So even though the seeds have their potential, you require rain to in fact bring out that potential. Sapeksha Vishama Srushti Hetutve Manam Pruchadi. From where do you determine that Ishvara takes into account the karma? Manam, Pramanam Pruchadi. But Tathai Darshayati, Sabhashakara says, Katham Punaha Avagamyate Sapeksha Ishvara Nisha Madhyamottaram Samsaram Nirmimite Iti. Katham Punha Avagamyate. From what basis of, on what ground do you come to this understanding or conclusion? That Sapeksha Ishvara, that Ishvara also takes into account consideration other factors. Nicha, Madhyama, Uttamam Samsaram Nirmimite. Nicha, the Pashvadi, Madhyama, Manushadi, Uttama, Devadi. So, this is your reasoning, but is there any pramanam in the Shruti for this? Sutra avayavena uttaramaha. Sutra avayava tathai darshayati is one part of sutra, so that's the answer to this question. Bhashyakara says, tathai darshayati shrutihi. That's what Shruti says. What does it say? It says, Esha hyeva sadhu karma karayati tam yam ebhyo lokebhyah unninishate esha eva asadhu karma karayati tam yam adho ninishate iti. This is also a question of a statement anyway, but Eseva sadhu karma karayati. Ishvara makes this person perform virtuous deeds. This statement literally translated means that Ishvara makes this person performs virtuous deeds whom he wants to lift to heaven. Yam ebhya lokebhya unninishate. Says Ratnava yam janam unninishade urdvam netum ichchati. So when Ishvara decides to lift a person above where he is, then makes him perform good deeds, virtuous deeds. Tam sadhum कारयति esha ishvarati अन्वयः, makes him do good actions. Esho eva asadhu karma कारयति, same Ishvara makes another person do evil actions. Tam yam adho ninishate, to whom he wants to downgrade, wants to take down, then makes him perform evil actions. That's another problem. So says Ratnabhava, nacha kanchid janam sadhu kanchid asadhu karma karayata vaishamyam tadavastha. Ishvara still remains Vishama. He still remains unequal. Kanchid janam sadhu karma karayata, makes some person perform the virtuous actions. As kanchid asadhu karma karayata, makes somebody else perform evil actions. So again, vaishamyam tadavastham, his inequality remains intact. He is still unequal. Iti navachyam, that should not be said. Anadi purvajita sadhu asadhu vasanaya svabhavena janasya tattat karmasu pravruttau. Says no, not that Ishvara makes a person perform virtuous actions and makes other person perform evil actions. It is by the vasana that the person does this. Anadi purvajita sadhu asadhu vasanaya. Because the person has acquired the vasanas from a long time. Somebody has acquired vasana performing good actions. Somebody has acquired vasana performing evil actions. So sometimes in childhood you find some child is cruel. It sees any insects and crushes them. Things like that. You see that. Some other child also you see very kind. So you can see cruelty and kindness right from the beginning. That means that they have brought these vasanas or tendencies with them. Again, there Ishvara is sadharana karanam. And asadharanam is one's own vasana. So you cannot blame Ishvara for being, again unequal to them or unjust to them. Anadi purvajita sadhu asadhu vasanaya svabhavena janasya tat karmasu pravruttau. So by their own nature, people engage in those respective activities. Ishvarasya sadharana hetutvad. Therefore Ishvara is the sadharana karanam and individual vasanas are the asadharanam karanam. But the idea is that this quotation is to say that there are virtuous actions and there are evil actions. Shruti also accepts that there are virtuous actions and there are evil actions. And that virtuous actions result into reward of going to heaven, and the vicious actions result into the punishment of going to hell. But that is not that Ishvara is punishing them or rewarding them. Their own vasanas create the karma, and the karmas create those results, and that's how the outcome is. Ataha anavadhyah Ishvaradi bhava. Therefore, Ishvara is blameless there also. Next quotation. Punyo vai punyena karmana bhavate papah papena iti cha. It's amazing that it's so difficult to find statements about karma from the whole of the Upanishads, This kind of fringe statements have to be quoted here because there is no clear indication about the karma. Upanishad, of course, does not deal with that also because Upanishad deals with Brahma Vidya. And all karma, etc. is it is all in Karma Kanda. Vidhi, Nisheda, and this and whatever. But as far as the Creator is concerned, there are not that many statements that you can find So punyo vai punyena karmana bhavati. A person becomes virtuous by virtuous actions, papa papena, and becomes vicious by vicious actions. That means there are tendencies of virtue and vice which people have brought because of the karma, or those tendencies give rise to those karma. So karma gives rise to vasana, and vasana gives rise to karma. Both ways it goes. Therefore Vivekachudamani said that if you want to transform your vasanas, then start doing good karmas. So if you do good karmas, sattvic karmas, then that will create sattvic vasanas. If you perform evil karma, so suppose evil vasanas are there, rajasic, tamasic vasanas are there, what should you do? Deliberately perform the sattvic karma, and then that will change the vasana. So both ways. Shruti api shrautamartham anugrunnati. Bhagavad Gita also is favorable to this whole idea. Vashyakara says, Smrutirapi prani karma vishesha apeksham eva ishvarasya anugrahitratvam nigrahitratvam cha darshayate ye yatha mam prapadyante तांस तथैव भजाम्यहम् इत्येवं जातीयका श्रुति अपि प्राणिकर्म विशेष अपेक्षमेव ईश्वरस्य अनुग्रहीतत्वं निग्रहीतत्वं. We find both this. Some people are favored, some people are punished or restrained. Anugraha is giving freedom, favoring, nigraha, restraining. So we find some people are favored, some people are restrained. This is what we find. That also prani karma vishesha apeksham, that also is in keeping with the karma or the actions of the prani, the actions of the living beings. Lord Krishna says, ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyam. The manner in which they worship me, in that manner I favor them or bless them. Meaning that Ishvara does take into account the karma of the pranis. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. Iti evam jatiyaka smrutihi api. And Nyayana says, Maya vaccha tasya mayamaya srishti heto vaishamyadi prasanga abhavadi bhava. Finally, Maya vaccha, ultimately a Mayavi, whatever it does, what does it matter? Mayamaya srishti heto Mayavi, a magician who creates his magic world. What does it matter whether there is Vishamata? It is unreal anyway. Similarly also the world is mithya, so what does it matter? In mithya it does not matter whether there is Vishamata or not Vishamata, it is mithya ultimately. That's the ultimate answer, But then all of these questions are answered taking for granted that the creation is real. All the questions arise from taking the creation as real. And accordingly answers are given, but now and then you remind them. Says, for example, Bhamati, in that same page, Yatha ahuhu janma janma yadabhyastam dhanam adhyanam tapah tena vabhyasa yogena tachaiva abhyasyate naraha iti. Nice quotation. Janma janma yadabhyastam, what a person has done again and again in birth after birth. Dhanam, adhyanam, tapaha, whatever dhanam he has done, adhyanam, Veda adhyanam he has done, tapasarya he has done. Teneva abhyasa yogena tachaiva abhyasate naraha. Here also you find the person doing that. whatever abhyasa of practice is there, whatever vasanas are there. Continues here. Abhyupetya cha srushti tatvikatvam idamuktam. All these answers are given taking for granted that, accepting that the creation is real. Anirvachyatu srushti na prasmartavyam atravihi. Here also one should not forget that srushti is anirvachaniya, meaning that no final things can be said about anything in the creation. If you accept the previous birth, you can't say the person is punished, and you can't say that the pain is necessarily a punishment. Pain also may be a blessing in disguise. And so you can't say that this is necessarily wrong or this is right. Anirvachaniya. Na prasmartavyam, na vismartavyam. That also should not be forgotten. Tathacha maya karasyiva anga sakalya vaikalya bhedena vichitran pranino darshayatah na vaishamya dosha. So a magician shows variety of creatures. Some creatures are beautiful, some are not, some have all the limbs intact, some do not have all the limbs. Shows all kinds of creatures. There is no vaishamyam there. So that means the magician is not partial or cruel or unequal. Sahasa samhartova na nirgrunyam. And then all of a sudden the magician folds up his maya, his magic. All of these are gone. So whoever was created is destroyed right away, but then there is no cruelty in there because what was created was unreal, what is destroyed also is unreal. Evam asyapi bhagavatah vividha vichitra prapancham anirvacham vishwam darshayatah samharatascha. Similarly also of this Bhagavan vichitra Vividha Vichitra Prapancham. There is variety and there is diversity, both are there. Vividha, variety. Vichitra, diversity. Prapancham anirvacham vishwam darshayatah. So just as a Mayavi or magician simply shows his creation, there's nothing more than that. So also Ishvara shows this magic of the nature of this creation, which has variety and diversity. Samvaratascha, and then folds up also. Svabhavadva leelayava na kaschid dosha. It is nature of Ishvara to, it is nature of the magician to do this, show his magic and fold up. So Ishvara also's nature it is to show this magic of universe and fold it up. There's no problem. Or it's a leela, it is merely a pastime or a sport, then also there is no fault. That's how this sutra also is completed. In that way, we have completed all the sutras which were referring to this particular section that we were doing. Now we'll come back to next session, Chhandogya Upanishad, from where we have stopped there. We'll continue from there. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Sutrabhashyakrutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.